flowchart for beginners. Here I have set up a flowchart with 8 steps for you to follow in a lovely order, and this is about the pre-planning part of getting you ready to begin your best drawing. So the first thing, number one, step one, is to find a subject that you're passionate about. And this is because if you're passionate about a subject and you have a love for it, you connect with it, and then you're keen to do your best work. So if I present you with an image of a green frog and you're terrified of frogs, you're not going to connect with it, and you're going to, not want to even do the drawing. So it's kind of pointless exercise. So say if your passion might be big cats, you can plan 8 images and practice all sorts of things. You can practice the different eyes, the different fur textures. So you've got something like the thick, dense fur of a snow leopard through to the short, tawny fur of a lion. You've got the long mane of a male lion. So these are the sort of little practice pieces you can start with. So find your passion and use that as your reference images to begin with. Then secondly, make sure that your reference image is lovely and clear, because coloured pencils is about the detail, and the more clarity you have in your image, the better that your drawing is going to be, because you can see what's happening. And also I'd like you to take the time to actually study the reference image, because really we look at the image, we remember what we've seen, and then we put it on the paper and it transfers through our eyes and brain to our hand. So when you've got clarity, you're not struggling through a blurred or out of focus obscure image. If you have one of those that you want to draw, and it could be a pet that's passed away, leave it for later when you're more confident and you can fill in the gaps with that sort of image. But start with lovely clear images. Then I would like you to sketch a thumbnail. Now you might go, oh, I don't want to sketch, but please, this is just a little thumbnail, so they only have to be this big, and it can be very basic. So if it's a bird, little circle for the head, little oval for the body, little stroke for the tail, just something like that. What it does is it boosts your powers of observation. So you're looking at your reference image in more detail. If you just slap a bit of tracing paper on it and trace the outline, you're really not paying attention to what's there. So by sketching it out, you're looking carefully. You can even look at the light and the shade again. And this way you can also design your composition. So you can work out your format. In your head, you might have planned that you're going to do a landscape image, and when you sketch it out, you think, that's not going to work. It's going to look really nice in a portrait format. And then you can, and in this course, there's guidelines of how you can set out your design. So that sort of 10 minutes on doing that can save you a lot of heartache later in your good drawing. Then we transfer that sketch or your outline, however you've chosen to do it, to your good paper. Then you can choose your colours. So I always advise as a beginner to swatch out your colours. I still do it today, and I've done over 100 coloured pencil drawings, just to make sure that they all gel together. And you can put them in order, so maybe like warm grey 1, then light ochre, light yellow ochre, then brown ochre, then burnt sienna, and etc. And mix colours. So if you've got a really cool black in one area, you can try for your blues and purples under the black, and then you might have a warm black in another area, so you can try lovely reddy brown under your black. And this is just a way of, and they have to only be tiny, but again you can write notes and do a bit more information and have a record of all the colours that you're going to learn and use in that drawing, so that you've got a record and you can flick back and say, well, that colour scheme actually worked. And we're kind of lucky with animals that they have a very limited colour range, even though we can use a lot of pencils, but you've got a basic range of colours there to use, so it's a great way of also getting familiar with those colours. Now your outline on your good paper, once it's been transferred, should be light. If it's a heavy outline, it's going to enclose the image and can make it look cartoonish. So you can dab as you go. You only need a very subtle guideline, because many of our coloured pencil brands are quite transparent and you don't want that harsh outline showing through. And if it's heavy graphite, it can transfer and mix with your coloured pencils and muddy them as well. And then we practice our strokes, so we can have short and long strokes, longer strokes for longer fur, shorter strokes like nice little elliptical strokes that fill in a mass, but make sure they're directional, because this is really important. This helps form that initial structure of your subject, and it can give you the texture as well. If you are filling in something and you do long linear strokes, it's just going to flatten that subject. And again, because of the semi-transparency of coloured pencils, those long flat strokes are going to show through. So remember that the foundation of coloured pencil is mixing and blending on the paper, so all your layers are very important. So that first layer and those first strokes are actually developing the structure of your animal. And then finally, we start with the application. So step 8 is putting your first layers down, and they should be light, and then build on multiple layers to start to get the depth. And even though I say work light to dark, isolate your highlights. So any areas that are looking light, have them marked very, very lightly. But I also mark in my shadows. This is only a guideline, you do what suits you, but I find by doing a very light layer of the whole, pretty much the whole image, I don't always do it, but I like to mark in my shadows. I've got nice soft edges, because even though we work light to dark, if you had say a white fronted animal and you go in quite heavy with whites and creams, and then you try and put shadow colours over that, it doesn't really work, because those lighter colours can be quite creamy and then the shadows look stuck on. So I put them in first and then build up everything in the same sort of order. But we say light to dark because if you had a black stripe, so tiger stripe, and you try and put a light highlight on the top and go over the black with a light colour, it's not going to work on smooth paper. It will on a textured surface, but on drafting film or something like hot press watercolour paper or a Bristol board, there's just not enough tooth there for that to work. So that's why we say work light to dark. But this is again the things you will learn in this course to make it easier for you to move on.